Coding might not be for you. Today I want to discuss what kinds of skills and traits you not only need to be a developer, but also need to have to enjoy being a developer. Now, of course, everyone has the potential to theoretically bluff their way into a dev job, but they'll quickly find out that it's not for them if they aren't suited to it. So what do I mean by this? Well, most people will often find themselves unable entirely to progress in their careers and potentially burn out entirely if they don't possess these skills and traits. Your lack of conviction in your ability or enjoyment of working with software will ultimately overrule any other motivations you may have for learning to code. Now, of course, one of the most popular motivators for learning how to code is to get a job as a software engineer, because in doing so, you'll get super rich while you work from home, right? Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like that isn't a big motivator for a lot of people to learn to code. It's for me as well. But if you're going to stick to it and develop a rewarding and long-lasting career out of it, then you're going to need a few more things than that. First, you're going to need to love to learn. As a developer, you're going to be constantly learning stuff because there's too many things to know. You're never going to know everything. It's not going to happen. This is why documentation exists. So you'll actually need to be more comfortable with not knowing things than actually knowing things, because your job as a developer is to dive into the deep end and solve problems. That is the whole point of the job. That is what you need to be comfortable with doing. And that leads me to my second point. You'll need to be a problem solver. A software engineer's job is to provide technical solutions to solve problems. At its base level, that is essentially what the job is. It just so happens that code is often the best tool to provide bespoke solutions to things, as there's often no limitations to what you can do with it. It's just about knowing how. Anyone can learn to code, as coding is just a tool, but to problem solve, you're going to need to know how to approach problems the right way. Can you break a problem down? Can you trial and error your way through a problem without getting impatient or giving up with it? Can you effectively communicate your problem and successfully recreate the steps you've taken to try and solve that problem already? And also, do you know how to ask the right questions? Of course, you can learn these things to an extent. It can be very much just a case of inexperience for a lot of people. However, some people just simply aren't built that way. It's not all doom and gloom, however, because there are still other roles in tech that you might be more suitable for. So if you're dead set on getting a job in tech, then here are some of those roles. First of all, if you still want to get into the technical stuff, but you don't feel being a developer is for you, then thankfully you don't have to be. You could be a QA as well, QA engineers or QA analysts, QA testers, whatever you want to call them. First of all, we'll make a very similar salary to a software engineer, at least up to the sort of mid-level. And that can be a very rewarding role as well. As a QA, you'll often find yourself in code as well, because these days, quite often QAs have to write automated tests as well with testing libraries and stuff like that. But, have no fear. Generally, a lot of this stuff is a bit less sort of the unknown, because these sort of tools and the type of tests that you're writing and things generally have already been figured out. It's quite situational, but the point being that you're not going to be like a full-blown dev writing features from the ground up, fixing little edge case bugs and things like that. So yeah, if you want to get involved with software, still want to get involved with the technical stuff, but you don't quite want to be a dev, then that might be a good thing to look at. Might even build your confidence up to the point where you eventually do want to become a sort of developer. Testing, if you don't want to go the developer route, or if you want to build your way up to that, then testing might be a good way to get into that as well. There are quite a few technical roles that you can look at as well, like DevOps engineers, cloud engineers, database engineers, data analysts, data scientists, IT, security. In keeping with the subject of the video though, I'm going to assume these kinds of roles aren't quite what you're looking for as well. They're not maybe going to be your thing. You're maybe going to want to go for something different, but keep them in mind. It's probably worth knowing that they exist. So do your research, see what's right for you. You might find that some of this other stuff in the technical side of things is maybe more for you. Just do your research, I guess. If you're more of the creative type, then I would highly recommend you look at UX UI design as well. A UX designer, or a user experience designer as that stands for, is responsible for creating web or app designs, or both. Which not only look aesthetically pleasing, but also function well and make sense from a user flow perspective. UX designers often work quite closely with front-end developers as well to ensure that these designs make sense from a functional perspective, from a user flow perspective. But also they make sure that they conform to modern web accessibility standards and things like that. So a good website is quite literally more than a pretty face. There's a lot more to it sort of functionally and, accessibility wise and things like that, to make sure that all your end users are able to use the site in the way that you're intending on them using it. So it's up to the UX designer to design all that stuff and what the end user will ultimately actually see on the app or the website or whatever it is, and how they interact with it. And that, I would say, makes it a hugely important role. Again, UX designers make similar salaries to software engineers as well, up to a point. So if you are more of the creative type and even have a background in something artistic, like graphic design or something like that, something more design focused, then you may prefer to go this route instead. Finally, if working with people is quite a big part of your skill set, if communication is a big part of your skill set, and you may even have some experience with project management and stuff like that, then you may be suited to a role as a product owner. A PO will liaise with both the company's own teams and the client, both to deliver requirements from the client to the teams and also relay questions and concerns back to the client. In this role, you'll often work with a project from end to end and have visibility of a lot of things. So it could be a great way to have quite a big impact on shaping how a project plays out long term, how that unfolds, and that can be quite rewarding for a lot of people. Adding to the communication side of things as well, you'll need to know how to write tickets in a way that explains non-technical requirements gathered from the client effectively to a developer. One thing to note here is that influencing the product from a technical standpoint is not within the scope of product's job in software development. That is something that you should always keep in mind when writing tickets as well. A good PO will be able to not only find that balance that I was talking about as well of delivering requirements but not influencing the technical solution, but also they'll be able to assist in mitigating blockers that come up within the development. They'll be able to plan ahead of sprints, which are 2-week blocks of work if you don't know, and are generally very good at organising things like that and getting work ready and stuff. And they'll be able to set client expectations for the delivery of new work realistically. Product owners have a lot of potential to not only make similar wages to software engineer, but they're actually prime candidates for leadership and management roles as well, given their skill set. So that, of course, leads to more responsibilities, but also more money. So there are quite a few alternative roles to consider in software development. I've listed a few of them in this video that might be relevant to those who this video is most applicable to. But there is, of course, a wide variety of different roles within tech that you may also want to take a look at. So this is mainly just to give you an idea of what else is out there. If I've missed any roles in this video that you were hoping to hear about, then please let me know in the comments, or any other questions you might have as well about anything that I've talked about in this video, please fire them in the comments. But if not, if this video was helpful, then please like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.